Good evening and welcome to this evening's event, which is a STEM-focused event to tell you all about the Aspire programme, as it was a particular focus on STEM subjects. My name is Ellen Walkinshaw and I'm the Associate Director of Progression here at Reigate College, and I have with me Simon King from the Maths Department and 5 current lower 6 students who are going to be able to tell you about what they've got out of the programme and what Aspire means to them so far. So welcome, and I just will start by sharing my screen and telling you a little bit about the programme before I hand over to the students, who will do that much better than me, I am sure. So as I said, I've introduced ourselves. The programme is designed to provide extra support for students in choosing what they want to study at university and to help them make a really competitive application to university, or in some cases apprenticeship routes after they've left college. The central part of the programme is a weekly seminar with a dedicated tutor, and students have the option as part of the Aspire programme to complete an extended project qualification, which is an EPQ, and that counts for half an A-level and is a really well-respected qualification that can be good to support university applications. Now, to be eligible for the programme, you need to achieve some GCSE results that are, on average, sort of 6s and above. Okay, so if you're on track to achieve those sorts of results, then you will be eligible to join the programme. And there's nothing you need to do at the moment at the end of this evening or anything about joining the programme. It's something that will be talked to, we'll talk to you about once you come and visit us for your interview after your GCSE results. So what I'd like to do first of all is hand over to Simon, who is going to tell you about the options for studying maths at Reigate, because I know that that's a subject that lots of you will be interested in and might have questions about. So here's Simon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. So as Ellen said, I am the course leader for the upper 6 maths, and I've been teaching here maths and further maths for several years. So the main question that we get asked in the department is, what is the difference between maths and further maths? Essentially, everyone who does maths or further maths will do the same set of subjects. Then those who do further maths do an additional set of units on top of that. In the maths, we cover pure maths, which is very similar to, the algebra, trigonometry, things that you're very familiar with your maths already, and then extend the ideas looking at differentiation and integration as 2 kind of major topics. We also look at some statistics and some mechanics, which is a more physicsy type thing. In the further maths, that all gets completed, typically by Christmas. And then in the second half of the year, we move on to additional pure maths, so looking at some more abstract mathematics. And then we do further mechanics, so a little bit more of the physicsy type stuff. And then something that's definitely new to a lot of students called decision maths, which has a lot of links with both computer science as well as economics and commerce.
Fantastic, thank you, Simon. So I know that 3 out of the 5 lower 6 students we've got with us today do study maths as part of their programme. So it's something that a lot of students with a kind of STEM interest do think about pursuing. And Simon will be staying with us. So at the end of the session, there'll be the opportunity to type in questions in the text chat, and he'll be here to answer any math-specific questions that you have. But what I'd like to do now is to allow the lower 6 students we've got with us this evening to introduce themselves to you and explain what they're studying here, what school they went to, and talk a little bit about kind of what they're thinking about doing in the future. Thank you. Okay, Emma.
My name's Emma Harahan, and my previous school was Royal Russell. I'm studying biology, chemistry, and physics. I chose these because they all link together, and these choices will help me in the future to get into the career I'm aiming for. Aspire has helped me research what I want to do when I leave Reigate. I want to go on to university to study dermatology or veterinary science.
My name's Rachel Pickup, and I went to Oakwood School. I'm currently studying maths, philosophy, and history, and I chose these subjects because they were some of my favourite subjects at GCSE, and I also plan on studying maths and philosophy for university, so sort of links in with that. And outside of Aspire, we also get help from careers, which we did recently during Get Ahead Day, where we got access to these videos that explain the concept of like universities and other stuff to us. And we also had a one-on-one meeting with our form tutor so we could discuss our future career plans, and they gave us advice on that as well.
My name's Alex Burkham. I went to Trinity School. I study maths, physics, chemistry and PE. So I do the Aspire programme, and I think it really helps me with a lot of general subjects to narrow down what I want to do. And as well with that, it helps me to look at, we have specific lessons where we look at universities and different courses and where we want to go, which for me really helps me to narrow down what I've planned to do, which is civil engineering later on.
My name's Zoe and I went to the Warwick, and the subjects I do are geography, psychology and economics. I chose these subjects because I think that they're highly relevant, and I really like geography at GCSE, and economics has definitely really complemented it very well. The main thing I've gotten out of Aspire is the opportunity to research topics that really interest me. We do this through EPQ research and personal statement preparation, and also being able to share our ideas with equally enthusiastic and interested students. Aspire really lets you build an academic interest. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after college when I first came here, but Aspire's really put me on the right track, and I'm really grateful for that.
Hi, my name's Leon. I study maths, chemistry and physics, and I chose these because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life after college, but I knew I had a passion for and was good at the physical sciences, and this combination opens up a wide range of doors in that direction, whilst also reinforcing one another. Also, I went to the Warwick before this. So as part of the Aspire programme, we have the chance to do an EPQ, as Ellen said, and this is an extended piece of research which counts for half an A level. Now, the EPQ is a really great opportunity to show universities that you're genuinely interested in the subject you're applying for. My EPQ is on the justifiability of human endeavours in space. Should we be focusing all of our efforts on the exploration of space, or instead should we be focusing on directly fixing the climate crisis? Companies are considering space mining as a new profitable industry. Are we unleashing the beast of humanity on the rest of the universe? Will research in space into areas such as the fifth state of matter and disease treatment provide a big enough impact to negate the cons of space exploration?
Thank you very much, all of you, for introducing yourselves. So now that we've introduced ourselves, I can explain a bit more about the format for this evening. So we're going to have a mini debate to start with, and you were, I think, sent some information about the topic that we're debating, but if you haven't had a chance to look through that, don't worry, you'll still be able to join in the debate via the text chat, or the Q&A, sorry, rather, function on Zoom. The reason we're using debating as an activity is because the skills that you learn from debating are really useful. Some people might think they'd be more useful for humanities subjects, but actually in science subjects, you also need to be able to demonstrate these skills. You need to be able to show that you can quickly summarise evidence and form an argument, and also be able to consider and evaluate counter-arguments that people put to you. Now, we've mentioned the EPQ a couple of times already, and in most cases, the extended project qualification takes the form of an extended essay. So certainly being able to debate on paper in an essay writing subject, but also in the EPQ, is a really important skill to be developing. Now, lots of you that apply for really competitive universities, so Oxford and Cambridge certainly, and Imperial as well in London for a lot of subjects, will be invited to interview. And to perform well at interview, these debating skills are also really important in the science subjects, to be able to show that you've considered kind of alternative interpretations of data or of evidence, and weighed them up and to reach a conclusion. So they're really useful skills to have. Now, the topic that we have chosen for the debate, we've chosen because it covers lots of different areas of science, but it also has a philosophical and ethical element to it as well. So clearly, the issue of autonomous vehicles is going to touch on engineering, computer science and AI, also environmental issues, because these are going to be electric vehicles, but there's a lot of moral and philosophical questions. And as you'll have realised from when our students introduce themselves to you, most students actually study a combination of STEM and essay-based subjects. So, for instance, we've got Rachel with us, who's interested in studying philosophy and maths at university. So the format that the debate is going to take is that we're going to have Emma, first of all, giving an opening speech for the motion that autonomous vehicles will make driving safer. And then we'll have Leon putting forward the alternative counter arguments. And we have got some questions that the Aspire students have kind of want to ask each other. But what we're hoping after that is that we'll be able to take some questions from you, the audience. As I said, you can type in using the Q&A function. Okay, and then at the when we finish the debate, at the end of the debate, there will be the opportunity for you all to vote on the motion. Autonomous vehicles will make driving safer, using the poll on Zoom, and we'll obviously publish those results. So I will hand over now to Emma, who is going to put forward the motion, forward her speech, sorry, in favour of the motion that autonomous vehicles will make driving safer.
In 2015, the UK's first self-driving pod was made public. This was following on from the launch in 2010 of Google's self-driving car project, which was to make driving safer, more enjoyable and more efficient. On average, 1.2 million people worldwide are killed from traffic accidents and an estimated 94% are due to human error. The concept behind autonomous cars is that if they are able to anticipate risky situations and avoid them, they will. This will reduce road traffic accidents and make the roads a lot safer. Human drivers' new role within the car is to observe and detect any possible technical errors that the vehicle may make, so the driver should always be alert and never rely on the vehicle 100%. An example of an autonomous vehicle is the Waymo driver, made safe because it determines the exact trajectory, speed, lane, and steering maneuvers needed to progress along its route safely. It is tested across multiple locations, driving every day in different types of real-world conditions so that the auto driver is able to navigate through all types of situations. Out of the 1.8 million miles that Google's self-driving cars have driven, they have been involved in only 13 accidents, all of which were caused by the other car.
Okay, and I'm going to call on Leon to present the counter argument against the motion.
So 90% of crashes are caused at least in part by human error. A significant argument for the use of autonomous vehicles says they will make the roads safer by reducing human error. But a Gallup poll in 2019 found that 52% of Americans would never want to use a driverless car. So what we get is a situation where the autonomous cars will have to deal with the inevitable human error present on the roads. So how will the autonomous car be programmed to act in the event of an unavoidable accident? If a person is about to be run over, does the car swerve, sacrificing the occupant's life in lieu of the person in the road? Who would want to buy a car that does that? Or does the car protect the occupants at all costs? That's what Mercedes-Benz have said their vehicles would do. Yet what if protecting the occupants is just stopping them from breaking a bone, and it comes at the cost of a bystander's life? Might the car choose whether to protect the occupants or not? And if so, how would it analyse the circumstances and make such a decision? And that, the moral and ethical dilemma, is a fundamental flaw in the use of driverless cars.
Okay. Thank you very much, both of you. Now, as I said, our Aspire students have got a couple of questions to kick off the debate, but remember that at home you can type in your questions. Now you've heard both sides of the argument. It'd be really good if you could type some questions into the chat and we will get through some of those. So first of all, Rachel, do you have a question to put to the opposing side?
So if both cars that are driven by humans and autonomous cars aren't safe, what would be the alternative safest option?
Okay, can one of you answer that question?
So I think what we could do is, instead of just having the car driving by itself, I think you should have a person driving it, but over time we can enhance the features of the car to make it a lot safer. But I think you do need a person there in the event of an accident. So I think effort should instead be put into making the car more compatible and safer with humans than taking humans out of the driving equation.
Okay, thank you. Was about a question from the other side of Zoe? Have you got something to ask the opponents? Your opponents?
Lots of driverless cars still need a human alert at the wheel. So, what do you think the point of a driverless car is if you can't just not be present?
Well, although the driver still has to be alert and present, that means they're more free to do what they want within the car. So their main priority is not necessarily the driving, and they're taking complete control over the vehicle because that's already played into it. Their role is just to make sure the car does not have any technical malfunctions or does not have any difficulties at all, which could involve safety.
Okay, Alex, I don't think you've had a chance to ask a question yet. Would you like to?
Yeah, my question would be, so what makes a death from an algorithm created to minimize the loss of life in the event of an accident worse than the loss of life from careless driving? Because surely a death that could have been avoidable through the use of an algorithm-based system would be better than a loss of life that, you know, could have been avoidable.
I think you have the fundamental problem that algorithms don't understand the sanctity of life like humans do. They don't have the right, ethical and emotional processing to deal with such a difficult moral task.
Okay, thank you. We have got a couple of questions now from the audience, which is fantastic. So, the first question I think is for Emma and Rachel. Okay, so for the foresight. So somebody's asked, who would be punished for an autonomous car failing and harming a human? The observing driver who had little opportunity to stop the event, or the multi-million-dollar company whose manufacturing was the cause? So a kind of moral, ethical, legal question there for you.
I think it really depends on the individual situation, but that's a really good and difficult question to answer. I think, yes, it depends on each individual situation, but depending on the type of accident and whether the driver was actually taking control and being alert during the car ride, would mean whether or not it's the multi-billion company's problem or the driver's.
Thank you. There's another question here. Now, I'm not sure which side to pose this one to, but I'm going to throw it over to the against side. Would the aspects of an autonomous car take the enjoyment of driving away, do you think?
I think that's a great argument against the use of driverless cars, because I think a lot of people do enjoy going out for a drive. Like, it's something to change what you're thinking, like have a break in the day. And I think that's another reason why you're going to still have people on the roads no matter what. And it's another reason that autonomous cars maybe aren't the best thing that we should go with, because you still have that human error present.
Okay, the questions are coming in thick and fast now. So this is a question specifically for Emma, but I think it could be either Emma or Rachel on this side. So how will new generations, so maybe you or maybe your children, or their children, be trained to know how to see if the auto-driving car is working properly, and how will they know what to do in technical difficulties? Any of you want to have a go at answering that?
I think it would probably be ideal for obviously if autonomous cars did take like popularity and they would produce more than normal cars, I think obviously driving like lessons and stuff would be based more in these cars, and obviously with that would come in teaching of what to do if it malfunctions, etc. But it may also be the case that they may need to learn how to drive a normal car at first and then change to driving an autonomous car.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to take one more question, then we're going to have to go on to the next part of the evening. But you will get a chance to participate because they are you're going to have to be able to participate through the Q&A, the poll function. Okay, there's a question here that says something about physics, and I think as we've got a couple of physicists here, this one could be for Alex, and maybe Leon might like to chip in as well. And we can have I've got 3 physicists and Emma as well. So I think most of these students take physics, or 3 of them do. We should take into consideration that in physics practicals, we use light gates that are a lot faster than us humans due to our natural human delay. So maybe the technology will be fast enough to prevent there even being a choice to make on who would live in a car accident. So that would be for Emma, Alex or Leon. Does anybody want to volunteer to answer that question? With human reactions versus practical. Leon, have a go.
So actually, I was reading that the human eye-brain connection is actually still a lot more precise than where technology is at the moment. So I think in terms of that, autonomous vehicles aren't still the best option to have. Although as time progresses, maybe that's something that we've got that we can deal with better. But there will still be lots of other problems that we need to iron out with autonomous cars.
I'd question how that would work. Maybe if you had light gates in between cars that almost interacted, connecting like the light gate. Well, I'm not sure whether it's light gate, but the thing inside trains and train doors that, or lift doors that track when you walk through. If you had that in between cars, but what about 360 around the car? I think an idea such as almost like a radar system or sonar would almost work better. And as technology develops, the system will get better in terms of reading body language, not only of humans, but of animals and anything that might jump in the way of the road, and would get better at, with more data, at reading body language and seeing if they might interfere with the cars.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I think I'm right in saying that we've opened the poll. Or no, we are just about to open the poll, so you'll be able to start voting. I'll just say while you're voting, would either side like to make any closing remarks to sum up? So Rachel or Emma or Alex, would you like to say anything to sort of sum up to persuade people? Last point.
I mean, there's not been a lot on driverless cars purely because there isn't a lot of statistical analysis to go on, but the limited statistical analysis that we have shows that they are a lot safer in removing human error, obviously from driving, which causes accidents. So,
Zoe, would you like to make any last closing remarks?
I think the problem with driverless cars is that people just simply don't trust them. I can't imagine mass populations suddenly turning around to them when driving for the most part is fine. People enjoy it, and you know, it's practical. And I think it's quite extreme to suddenly kind of introduce, you know, all these algorithms and robotics into a process that humans can learn quite easily and, you know, really successfully.
Okay, thank you very much. I know we didn't get through all of your questions, but we are cutting this part of the evening a little bit short because I know that you'll also have lots of more general questions about the Aspire programme and college that you'll want to ask our students. So there's 30 seconds more to answer the poll. Just while I get my screen up to share, you can be popping in your last answers. It's at the moment looking like as though yes are in the lead. But we'll give it another couple of seconds and then we'll publish the results and they'll come up on your screen so you'll be able to see the results. Okay, right, so we've had our debate and the poll has ended now. So I think you should be able to see, yep, so we have, Alex is waving his fist in a victorious kind of way, that yes, 63% of you believe that autonomous vehicles will make driving safer, and there's just 37% of you, so a substantial minority that think that they will not make driving safer. So if you enjoyed that debate, that is something that we actually do a bit of in our Aspire lessons. So we've had a few debates this year, and that was one that we touched on recently in an Aspire lesson to help you develop those debating skills that we said are really important. If you enjoyed debating and you think that you like to think about those sort of bigger questions particularly, there's a fantastic website that Oxford University have put together called oxplore.org. It's up there on the screen now. And as you can see, the questions really range from the very philosophical to more kind of STEM science-based subjects. It's a good way of sort of honing your debating skills to have a look at those topics on Oxplore. As I said, that's something we do lots more of in Aspire as well. So the next part of the evening is probably the bit that is, I think, a lot of students will find most useful, and that's where you will be able to type in more general questions now. So moving away from the debate, more general questions into the text chat that we can then field. So some of them I'll answer if they're ones that I'm in the best place to answer. But if they're more about the student experience and student life, I will pass them around to students. And of course, if there are maths questions, then Simon is here to answer questions that you have about maths. So I will try and sort of group them together as much as I can so that we're not repeating ourselves, and we'll try and get through as many of them as we can, but inevitably there will be some that we don't get through answering this evening, and there are lots of future events for you to ask questions at that we'll tell you about. Now, if you can start typing questions, I can see they're already starting to come in. So first of all, is it compulsory to do an EPQ if you do Aspire? I'll answer that one. No, it's not. So most people on Aspire do an EPQ, but several don't. So particularly those that are studying for A levels wouldn't do an EPQ necessarily on top of that. And likewise, if you're doing 3 A levels, but you're finding the workload really hard to manage, then obviously we'd have a conversation with you about whether it would be best to take an EPQ on top of those 3 subjects, A levels or BTECs as well, or not. So no, it's not compulsory. The second question, again, I will answer because it's just a fairly the next two questions about how long and often the Aspire lessons are and how they work in your timetable. So they are once a week for 1 hour, and is extra on top of other things that you're doing, and they start pretty soon after you start at college, but we do give you a couple of weeks to settle in. So some questions then for the for our panel that we've got here. A question about what type of thing would the EPQ be like? So if I can ask maybe Zoe to talk about what you've learned about EPQ so far. So just explaining maybe a bit more about how you chose your question. This person's saying, is it just one piece of work? Is it an exam? So it's not an exam, but do you want to just explain a bit more about your EPQ topic and how you chose it and what you've done so far? Thank you.
So I've done my EPQ on the Heathrow expansion because I wanted to learn more about economic and environmental issues. So choosing my topic, it takes a while to choose a topic. You're not expected to do it straight away because you do an awful lot of research right at the beginning just to decide what you're interested in. So yeah, I think my one is quite general because right at the beginning you don't really know what you want to do. So choosing a topic that's very, very broad is really useful. Yeah, with the EPQ, you start off with really basic mind maps. Then it just eventually progresses to you write your introduction, then you start doing your research review, and then you do your discussion, is where you do your main debating, which is kind of what this debate has demonstrated. Those kind of skills are definitely necessary.
Fantastic, good. Yeah, so in most cases, the EPQ ends up being an essay. Some people do produce an artifact, so a thing. So, but as STEM students, it's more likely that you'd produce an essay, and it is entirely coursework. So there's no exam associated with the EPQ. There's a question for Simon here. It's not math specific, but I think you are in a really good position to answer it, Simon. And somebody's asked, what support would students get if they felt they were struggling in a subject?
So typically, most teachers will be very open to sort of one-to-one ad hoc support. More formally, you can. There are plus classes, so support classes that students may be allocated to is typically an extra hour a week to just help you with a teacher consolidate and practice some key skills required for a subject. If it's a case of just wanting more time to practice or more structure, and if you struggle with kind of motivation or perhaps something like organization, we also have a very, very strong mentoring program which is designed to help students do that side of their studies, let out of the academic, to try and get them to independently learn how to motivate and how to organize their time so that then going forward they can use those skills to keep on top of their workload.
Thank you. There's quite a few questions coming in about the EPQ and kind of its value for university and how it helps you prepare for university. So because the EPQ, unlike your A-level or BTEC subjects, is something that you've chosen to study yourself and you're working very independently on it, you are developing those skills of research and more independent work, managing your own time that universities are really looking for. So that's why they value it. Some universities value it so much that they will make you a lower offer if you have a high grade in your EPQ, which brings me on to another couple of questions we've had about the results for EPQ. So the results in EPQ are absolutely outstanding. This year was the year that's just gone was slightly different to most years, but we had well into 80% of students getting A's and A stars, and it's always a very high number of students that get A's and A stars, and that's generally what universities are looking for to see on a students achieving to get the lower offer. A few other people ask about how long it takes and like how you kind of like manage your time doing an EPQ alongside your other subjects. Can I pass that one on to Leon, perhaps, about sort of juggling EPQ and your other subjects?
So you do it in stages. You don't ever get given you aren't set, okay, here, go and do the EPQ. It's you do the introduction, then you do your research review. So it's all in stages, and you've got a fair bit of time to do them. And so far, the two I've been set have fallen in over holidays. So you do have that extra time. You're definitely able to do that, and I think definitely if you're doing 3 A levels and you think you can manage it, it's a great thing to do. Research wise, you're never really sitting down and saying, I'm going to do this research now. Well, you can, but a lot of the time you'll notice this article or this podcast here as you come about, and it's more natural than just sitting down. So you definitely find the time to fit it in, and I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do.
Okay, I've got a maths question, but I'm not going to ask Simon to answer it. I'm going to ask Rachel to answer it. And the question, as I know Rachel does maths, the question is, what is the general structure of lessons, this maths specifically, and what sort of homeworks do you get set in maths?
So homework wise, we get homework set every week. We give them booklets, and the booklets are split into different homeworks, and every week we have to fill in the homework and then submit that. And then we're also given tasks that we have to complete at home that sort of prepares us for the lessons the next week, just so that we get a little head start and that it doesn't take us as long to sort of digest it all, I suppose. And as for the structure of the lessons, I suppose, as we said before, it's sort of split into like pure 1, and then we do mechanics, and then we do pure 2, and then we do statistics. So we do sort of segments of maths at a time, and then we'll revisit them as we do our homeworks. We revisit the previous topic as well, just so that we don't forget things that we've learned previously.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a couple others that I can probably answer about EPQ. So how are they assessed? So as I said, it's all coursework. So yes, it is like an NEA, a non-examined assessment. We mark them in college, first of all. So your EPQ tutor is the first marker. And then we moderate them internally within college. And then a sample is sent off to an external moderator. And you get a mark out of 54, which obviously we give the projects, and then the exam board set the grade boundaries, and you find out your results, your final result at the same time as you find out your A-level and BTEC final results. And yes, it does count towards UCAS points. It's a half an A-level. Some universities, as I said, will make you a lower offer based on an EPQ. Just scrolling through, see if there's any other kind of common questions we are getting. This is a question I think we'll trying to think who to ask. Maybe Zoe could answer this one. A bit more detail maybe about kind of how the Aspire program's helped with university applications. So perhaps recently we've been talking about personal statements, haven't we? So to know what we've done, explain what we've done in relation to those, perhaps.
I said in the beginning that Aspire really helps you build an academic interest. That's kind of really the first thing that we do. We're given lots of different tasks, and in lessons we look at lots of different resources. The college gives us loads of different resources to help research our topics, and once we've kind of decided what kind of courses we're interested in, then we've started doing personal statement preparation now. So we set different tasks to look. It's as simple as just looking at TED Talks on subjects we're interested in to really kind of help us decide what we want to do and how we can show our interest to universities when we apply. Because we're in the lower sixth now, since the lower sixth we've been preparing for this, so it will really help us when we do apply for universities. It won't be a sudden shock. We've really been supported and helped through the process.
Okay, great. There's a maths specific question here. This one is for Simon. So is further maths really as difficult as most people make it sound? How much a step up from maths A level is it?
So I'm not going to lie, further maths is hard, but that's why our grade requirement for further maths is a 7 as opposed to normal maths, which is a 6. The thing with further maths is if you enjoy maths and enjoy problem solving with abstract ideas, particularly with algebra, then further maths is very manageable. If you find kind of the ideas of lots of algebra very taxing or tiring, maybe consider something other than further maths. Further maths is very, very useful for those of you who are keen to go and do something very maths heavy at university and maybe required by some universities for maths or computer science or perhaps even engineering. So that may well be something you have to consider as well with the further maths side of things. But it is difficult, but if you enjoy maths, then it's the fun kind of difficult where it's a nice challenge.
Finding kind of difficult. I like that. Good. Okay. So just a few more questions that I can answer about the EPQ. So your choice of topic. Several people in the room have gone through a few different EPQ topics before they settled on their final choice of question. And yes, it's ideal to have it related to what you end up applying for at university, because then you can really talk about it a lot in your personal statement. But some people do EPQs on subjects that aren't related to what they want to study at university. They're just a real passion of theirs. And still you can talk about your personal statement, because doing the EPQ will have helped you develop those research skills of time management, critical thinking, analysis that universities are going to be interested in, regardless of whether the topic you've chosen really relates to what you go on to study. So it doesn't have to be related to what you want to study. And actually, in the course of your first year, you may well change your mind about what you want to study at university, and that is absolutely fine. I think what's crucial in all of this, and this links with what somebody else was saying about whether you could drop an EPQ if you were struggling, is that your EPQ tutor will know you, your Aspire tutor rather, will know you really well. Okay, and EPQ is just part of the Aspire programme. And the Aspire programme itself doesn't have a qualification associated with it. It's not a national programme, it is bespoke to Reigate College. But as part of that programme, you do an EPQ, which is, as we've said, obviously a nationally recognised qualification. But your Aspire groups are very small. So at the top end, we've got sort of 11 or 12 of you in a group, but most groups are much smaller than that. So your tutor will know you really well, and your Aspire tutor will be able to help you if you're struggling, and make the decision that maybe carrying on with your EPQ might not be right for you, and you'd be better focusing on research for your personal statement instead. So it's all about us knowing you really well. And it is just a one-year programme. So if any of you have older siblings who've been through Reigate or friends who've been through Reigate in the past, we have all students have started their EPQ in the summer term of the lower sixth and written it in the autumn term of the upper sixth. But this year, with these students that we've got with us at the moment, we're trialling writing the EPQ earlier in the first year, because it takes a bit of pressure off the autumn term of the upper sixth year, when lots of these students will have admissions tests, coursework in other subjects, possibly university interviews to prepare for. So that's why we're doing it, and it's working very well. So I think by the time you guys arrive, you will be also doing your EPQ in the first year rather than in the second year. So it is just a one-year course. Good question here, and that comes up a lot actually from people coming from secondary schools. I think sometimes at secondary school there's a lot of emphasis on extracurricular activities and you doing things because this point that's quite far off in the future for you at the moment, you'll be look good on your UCAS form. And actually universities are not really very interested, certainly the most academic universities, in things that you do that are purely extracurricular. So for instance, if you play musical instruments and you're a prefect, or you have part-time jobs, those are all fantastic things to do. But in your personal statement, it's really best to focus on things that directly relate to the subject that you're applying for. And if you are talking about your extracurricular activities, talking about the skills they've given you that will make you a better student of the subject you're applying for. But we'll talk about all of that in Aspire sessions. That's one of the things we do talk about. Some more maths questions. I can see lots of you are interested in doing maths. So one for Simon: do you do AS maths exam at the end of the lower sixth before A level in the upper sixth? That's all general questions, but AS is generally that we don't do them. But can you just explain about that?
Yeah,
Simon?
that's fine. I was just typing an answer to that if we didn't get to it. So unfortunately, no, we don't do an AS in maths at the end of the first year. That's kind of pretty standard nationwide. However, if you choose to do further maths, so you do maths, further maths, and then 2 others, and you don't want to continue the further maths into the second year, there is an option to take an AS in further maths, provided that you continue with the other 3. It's an option that some students take, not many. The majority of students who start on further maths finish the full further maths because, again, they enjoy it or they require it for a university course. But yeah, that is definitely an option for the further maths. Additionally, if you don't take up further maths at the start of your time here, do really well in maths in your first year and think, actually, I want to do some further maths, there is an option to pick up a further maths as an extra in your second year, again, provided you're not already on 4 subjects.
Thank you. So I've got a question that Emma is perfectly set to answer here, which is: I really want to do physics A level, but I don't want to do maths. Does it matter? How will you find physics A level without maths? Because Emma does do physics A level without maths, don't you? So
Physics, it does involve a lot of maths, but I think that if you have like a basic understanding and can do equations and whatever, even if you struggle, your teachers will support you in the math element, because I personally really struggle myself with the math element. And my teachers, they like give me books to help me with the maths, like additional maths help. And so no, it's not really that necessary to take maths as well as physics, in my opinion, because yeah, you get a lot of additional help if you struggle.
And there's a similar question about economics, basically the same thing about economics. So this is therefore to hand over that Zoe can answer about kind of how much maths there is in economics.
It really surprises people, but economics is really not a math subject. It's that you might get a 4-mark math question at the beginning of a paper, but economics is really an essay subject. It's really just like percentage changes in economics. The maths is not complicated at all. If you're not very good at maths, it's really not an issue if you want to do economics.
Right, I would certainly say that's true at A level. I absolutely agree. And obviously the entrance requirements for economics will be in our on the website. At degree level, I would say it's a little bit different. There's a lot more maths in economics at degree level. So a lot of universities will want to see economics and maths if you want to apply for an economics degree. But certainly at degree, yeah, definitely at A level, the maths content isn't huge. A couple of people asking about what happens in the second year. So because as we said, the EPQ you'll be doing in the first year and Aspire was just in the first year. What happens in the second year is that by the end of your first year, you'll have decided what path you want to go down. So most of you will have a clear idea about what you're applying for at university and a good idea of which universities you're applying to. So if you are applying for medicine, veterinary science or dentistry, in the upper 6th year, you won't have Aspire, but you'll be on what we call the MVD pathway tutor group, and you'll get your support for your university applications through that pathway. If you have decided you want to apply to Oxford or Cambridge, in the second year, you'll be in the Oxbridge tutor group pathway, and again, that's how you'll get support. If you're applying for other things at university, so maybe a general, say chemistry or physics degree, you'll be in a UCAS tutor group with a tutor to help you through the process generally. And there are a few other sort of specialist pathways, probably of less interest people here, so the performing arts and the visual arts pathways as well. So in the upper 6th, you won't have Aspire, but you will have help through the tutorial program tailored to whatever path you have decided to take. Having said that, I am still in really regular contact with a lot of my Aspire students from the first year. So you'll still, your Aspire tutor will still be somebody that you can go to for help in the second year. You just won't have an Aspire lesson on your timetable. And there's quite a few questions coming up about kind of workload and how you manage kind of 3 or 4 A levels and so on. And this is a question for Alex, really, because Alex does do 4 A levels and Aspire as well. So can you just, if maybe Alex, you just remind people before you begin what your A levels are, and then maybe talk a bit about how you juggle your time?
Yeah, so I take maths, physics, chemistry and PE. I find a lot of people that do 4 A levels will do A levels that do link. So for me, maths, physics and chemistry, despite what a lot of people think about chemistry, there's a lot of maths involved. And with it being one of my strongest subjects, I find it does link a lot. I would say that I take PE, which is a bit out there in comparison to my other subjects. I do find it a bit taxing. But I think staying on top of it is really the key, especially with me, what I'm like. I don't really like essay subjects. I don't like writing, and for me, PE is an essay subject, which is weird because I've got friends who will write 2-page essays, which you don't do in PE, but because I don't enjoy that, I find it quite taxing if I don't stay on top of it. So I think taking 4 A levels is fine, especially from GCSE, coming down from 10, 11 subjects to 4, despite what people think. 4, it doesn't feel like a lot if you haven't done 3 and you don't know the difference. If you just come down from 11 subjects and go straight into 4 subjects, it feels like you got all this free time. But it's really about staying on top of it. And if you don't stay on top of it, it can be taxing. But the college does make sure that you do either stay on top of it or provide you with the help that you need to get back on track.
Yeah, thank you. So the whole 3, 4 A levels, or whether you should do 3 A levels and an EPQ, or maybe even 4 A levels and an EPQ, which some people do, although not many, because that is also a lot of work, is something that we'll have with you when you come for your interview. You'll be able to talk to members of staff within the Aspire department, but also in your subjects. There'll be lots and lots of help with making that decision. And there is not a question that I can answer yes or no here, because it really does depend on the individual students. So the first thing we would look at when we're helping to advise you about 3 versus 4 A levels is your GCSE results. So if you're going to do 4 A levels, you do need to have a really strong set of GCSE results. And then we'd ask you about your rationale. Why do you want to do 4? 4 is not per se better than 3, and there are circumstances when 4 is the right choice. So particularly with STEM subjects, an example would be somebody who had a very, very good set of GCSE results, but wasn't sure if they want to go down the, say, engineering route or the medicine route. And they want to keep physics in their program study to keep engineering open, but then they need biology for medicine, ideally. Or somebody who maybe like sort of Rachel and Zoe here, who's sort of torn between, well, not torn between, but they've got an interest in both the STEM subjects and humanities subjects, and they want to keep their options open. Again, with a good set of GCSE results, that might be the right thing. But just doing 4 for the sake of doing 4, we would normally advise you against. There would need to be a reason for it, and you need to have really good GCSE results. But it is part of the conversations that we'll have with you when you come for your interview, and then progressively really through your first few weeks at college, because anybody that is doing 4 A levels, we do obviously keep a close eye on to check how they're getting on with their workload. And some people will drop down from 4 to 3, and that's in no way a sign of kind of defeat or failure. It's the right choice, but it'll be the right choice for you. So not a question that has a yes or no answer. I'm a historian in background, so I don't do yes or no by trade. So I don't do yes or no answers, but one that we can help you a lot with once you come and see us, at interview and beyond. So I think that's answered quite a few questions. There's a question from quite a while ago that came up really early on, and I skipped over, not deliberately, but because I got sidetracked by answering lots of questions about EPQ, about apprenticeships. Now, yeah, we do have lots of students going on to degree apprenticeships from the Aspire programme. Typically, and I would advise this as a good course of action, those students did apply to university as well. So they were holding offers from a range of really good universities, and they also then applied for degree apprenticeships. And then they were able to look at the offers they had from universities, see what happened with their apprenticeship applications and make a decision. We are still in contact with lots of those students. And for those students that went on to degree apprenticeships, they are very, very positive ambassadors for that whole way of progressing. If you know you don't want the full-on university experience, you don't mind missing out on that, you want to earn some money, but you still want to end up with a degree, then yeah, degree apprenticeships are a really good way forward. And it's certainly something that we talk about in Aspire. And we do have students that are going down the apprenticeship route and also making university applications. So yes, we do talk about it, and there's lots of help available through the programme for apprenticeships as well. The majority of students, though, are channeling themselves more down the university route. I can, some of these questions, yeah, so in terms of choosing your course and then choosing your university. So in Aspire, really, we encourage you to think about the course that you want to do first. So what subjects are you really passionate about? And then you start looking at shortlisting your universities and which universities would be best for different subjects. So we've done a bit of work on kind of researching universities in Aspire. So who hasn't spoken for a while? So Leon, do you want to talk about, it was quite a while ago when we did those sort of university presentations, and maybe how Unifrog can help you with actually thinking about courses?
So the college has a wide range of access to loads of different websites that will help you. There are so there's Unifrog, which is a website that shows you all the different degrees at loads of different places, different jobs that you need, different jobs that you can do with certain degrees. But there are also things that just help you explore. So there's this website called SACU, and you put in what you're studying, and it gives you some ideas of maybe what you want to do. So yeah, it's a good thing to be in to help you decide. It's a big process and a big decision trying to think about what you want to do and where you want to go. And there's definitely a lot of help. I mean, also in Aspire, you just get the chance to talk to people. It's a tight-knit group. My Aspire class only has 7 or 8 people. Yeah, there's only 7 or 8 people, and you know all of them. You talk to everyone about what they're thinking of doing, what you're thinking of doing. You share classes with some of them, and it's just a really great place to discuss and decide maybe this is the right thing for me, this isn't the right thing for me, and then you look at where you want to go.
Thank you, Leon. This is a question for Alex, specific to Alex. Do you fit in extracurricular activities into your college life, or do you not have time?
Well, I mean, I think it's very important to try and do that if that's your thing. So personally, I play a lot of sport, play a lot of cricket. That's what I plan on doing with PE. And yeah, personally, I do try and fit it in and really make an effort to fit it in, because it helps me stay motivated. It can be hard, and certainly is hard at times, but if you're very passionate about something, then there's absolutely nothing stopping you. And I think the college, not at the moment because of COVID, but they did really encourage people to sign up to different clubs that would take place, and it was quite fun for a time until things abruptly ended.
Okay, thank you. It's a question about how you get onto the Aspire programme. So is it optional or invite only? That's a good question. So as I said at the beginning, it's based on your GCSE results. So when you arrive, we'll look at your GCSE results, and I don't want to put a specific number on it, but on average, if you're getting 6s and above, you'll probably be eligible for the Aspire programme. It does vary a little bit from year to year. That's why I don't want to say an exact average GCSE score, which is what we go on. Typically, if you're getting an average of between 6 and 6.4, depending on the year, you will be eligible. So we look at it when you come to interview, so post GCSE results. And there's nothing you need to do at this stage or before your interview to sign up for Aspire. There will be new starters activities for you to do, but it's not something you need to kind of apply for. We invite you to join the programme after GCSE results. And obviously it's not compulsory. So you can decide that it's not for you. But once you have signed up to the programme, then it is a lesson on your timetable where we take a register and we monitor your attendance just like all of your other lessons, but it is optional to sign up for. Interestingly, this year in my Aspire lessons, I've had some students who, when they arrived at college, were quite sure they wanted to go down the university route, but are now actually thinking about doing quite different things. So one of them set up her own business already, for instance, and is really sure that's what she wants to pursue. And if she doesn't do that, she'll definitely go down an apprenticeship route. But she's still coming to Aspire lessons because I think she enjoys the kind of academic chance to discuss things that are maybe kind of a really sort of high academic level that she gets more in Aspire, perhaps with people from different, around all sorts of different topics than perhaps in other lessons. You know, so, and I think that's what Leon was sort of saying about how in the Aspire group, it's another peer group that you'll have where you can discuss maybe, yeah, kind of more academic topics and what you want to do in the future. Right, okay. I think we better start wrapping it up because I've got a few kind of closing remarks and things to tell you about that we can help you with moving forward before we next see you at introductory day. I know there will be some questions that we haven't answered, so please do email either the Aspire email address, which is simply aspire@Reigate, or the admissions email address that you'll be familiar with because they'll have been emailing you about interviews and so on, and we will get back to you. As I said, a few things to say before we finish up. First of all, as I've mentioned a couple of times already, there is the new starters work that we're going to start releasing from the 1st of April. So the new starters activities will help you decide on your sort of choices for A-levels and BTECs, and every subject will be issuing some activities for you to do. And I think the people that are in the room here found those quite useful last year in helping them decide what subjects they'd like to do once they arrived. I would recommend with those new starters activities that you do them in a range of subjects. So not just the ones that you're sure you want to study, but some that you are thinking about studying. So some of those questions that maybe I haven't addressed are more subject specific. So for instance, one quite specific about computer science, somebody talking about should you do biology or chemistry, do the new starters activities in both and see which you most enjoy. Also, big plug for our Instagram page. So at Reigate College, we have on Instagram, and maybe for the parents, we have Facebook as well. Instagram has been a fantastic way, particularly over lockdown, but also moving forwards for us keeping in contact with our current students, but also the wider kind of community. And we very much include you guys as applicants in that kind of wider college community. And we want you to feel part of the community that we have here already. And one way that you can do that is to follow the college on Instagram or on Facebook. So do that. And it's a really good way of kind of getting a feel for the kind of nice atmosphere that we have here at college and staying in touch with us a bit. The next time we will actually see you, and well, the first time we'll actually see you in person, which is very exciting, is Introductory Day. And that is scheduled for the 6th of July. But as I said, any updates about dates and arrangements for the date, you will be told about, you will be emailed about. And we're very much looking forward to seeing you on that day. At the moment, it looks as if Boris's roadmap out of coronavirus is going according to plan. So we hope that will be an in-person event. And for many of you, your first chance to actually visit the college in person. So I think I've gone through everything. Just scrolling through to see if there are any questions that I haven't answered. Just a quick note from my colleague, just reminding you to follow us on Instagram, because that is a really good way of keeping up to date with any developments that there are, particularly in terms of the roadmap and any changes we have to make to our programme of activities and the new starters activities. So thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon. I'll stop sharing my screen so that all our lovely students and Simon can all wave goodbye to you, and we look forward to seeing you in July. Thank you very much, and goodbye.